Apparently, Rudy Giuliani is pretty worried about a war against white supremacists. Huh. Oh, that's interesting. So now, he said this during an interview on Newsmax, where they were talking about the book Peril by Bob Woodward and Robert Costa. So now this details how General Mark Milley had feared that Trump could take irrational military action after his loss on after his loss in the election and after the insurrection attempt on January 6th. So that's when it got real bad. Now, even before then, he had been making calls to China and saying, "Look, we're not going to attack you. Just don't worry about the rhetoric coming from Trump. He's dumb. He's a man-child. Whatever. Don't listen to him. Okay, we're not gonna go to a war. We're not going to attack you." And then again, after January 6th, he's like mortified. Oh no, this guy's got the nuclear button. We've got to do something about this. And so on January 8th, Miller instructed senior military officials not to launch a nuclear strike without his involvement, which again breaks protocol, but the right thing to do. This revelation has lit the right wing on fire. And during an appearance on Real America's Voice, Steve Bannon's show, Giuliani, here's what he said about this and about white nationalists.
The man is some kind of hysteric. He may get us into a war, probably against white supremacists. He'll probably go bomb white supremacists. I mean, the guy, there's something in the screw loose with this guy.
So that's against Mark Milley, saying he's got to go. And more likely to bomb white supremacists. Why did your mind go to white supremacists? That's weird. Yeah, why did your brain immediately go to, well, he's going to war against white supremacists? Why is that the first thing you thought of? Like, I'm serious. It's a serious question. But look, to be clear, we shouldn't be bombing anybody, okay? Let's not bomb anyone. Let's not go to war. Now, if you defend yourself, if you're getting attacked, that's a different story, obviously. But again, to that point, China's not shooting at us. Are we economic rivals with China? Yes and no. I mean, for one, obviously the United States wants to stay as the world's economy and superpower. China threatens that. Okay. At the same time, they're also a gigantic U.S. trade partner. And so understand that if we went to war with China, pretty much every single Walmart would immediately fold, which wouldn't be such a bad thing. Or any place that relies on Chinese exports to the country. So again, we have a massive trading relationship. So now the result of that would be massive economic devastation for not only the country, but the rest of the world. And it would have gigantic reverberations in the world economy, maybe even causing a global depression. Not only that, but I think then, you also have two gigantic countries shooting at each other. So it'd be disastrous. So with that calculation, we can't afford a war. The United States can't afford a war. Neither can China. China doesn't want a war either. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Except apparently Rudy Giuliani, who then said this about China.
Treason is in the Constitution. It has to take place in time of war. If the president were to attack China, it would be a war. And he said he's going to help our enemy. I mean, it's absurd. China is an enemy of the United States. We know that. Maybe they don't accept that. They elected a president who was paid off by China. But the reality is, here he is telling China, the President of the United States takes action against you. I'm going to side with you against the United States of America. Second, what he's saying is totally hysterical. The president never made any words of that suggest war against China. The issue that he raised was supported by 50 reports. 50 reports, and it turns out to be true. Of course it came from the Wuhan lab. You have to be stupid not to realize that by the time the president said it.
And now we see why. He's going to continue the lab leak theory. Of course. No, and China bought off our election. No, they didn't. But again, notice the very war hawkish rhetoric from Rudy Giuliani and the right wing, who suddenly now think China that we should go to war with China. Well, they're our enemy, and it's treason. Look, China's not our friend, but we're also not at war. They're not our wartime enemies, because again, we're not at war. And what Milley tried to do was try to assure the Chinese government that we're not going to preemptively start a war with them. That's it. And again, he broke protocol, of course, in preventing Trump from possibly sending in the nukes or a military strike. But of course, the intent was to protect the United States against a madman. And so for me, like, intent really does matter for me personally. And look, if he does have to resign for breaking that protocol, I still think he did the morally correct thing in order to keep the peace. And I really hope that people will remember that when they talk about General Milley. So now, again, it's the end of that. As I mentioned, lab leak theory that came from Wuhan. COVID was made in the Wuhan lab. Gain of function, Fauci. All right, so now look. The Intercept did come out with a report recently, earlier this month, saying that there was some gain of function research at the Wuhan laboratory on mice. Now, that said, and by the way, it was funded by the NIH, but the NIH said, well, but we didn't explicitly allow for gain of function research, and I should urge you all to read that report. Came out, I believe, on September 9th. But anyway, that said, in their report, they used viruses that were not related to COVID-19 on mice. Okay, so now understand that entire thing is not only really ethically shady, but also very dangerous, irresponsible, and yes, there was funding. Okay, but at the same time, the idea that the COVID virus, that coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, came from the lab in Wuhan is not substantiated with any facts. The lab leak theory does not hold up. There's no peer review, there's no study on this. According to researchers who looked into COVID-19, the natural origin theory is by far the most agreed upon and credible theory of the origins of COVID-19. So anyway, and again, there are legitimate questions about the origin of COVID-19 and definite issues with that NIH-funded research. And of course, there are people that were less than honest about the said funding. But at the same time, understand that these questions are totally fine to ask, and I think they should be asked, and I think we should investigate. But also know that there are people with political motives that will push conspiracies about this that are based on incorrect information, and again, for political motives. And understand that the best conspiracies always have a little bit of kernel of truth embedded in them for the appearance of legitimacy. And the great thing about conspiracies, and also the worst thing about conspiracies, is that you can't really prove them. You also can't disprove them. You know what I'm saying? And that's really the core. And especially you can't disprove them in the minds of people who already believe it. And they're ambiguous enough, but with just a little tiny bit of truth in there for people to latch on to, that they can persist. And so, yes, that brings me back to Giuliani, right? So now Giuliani, Milley, and Donald Trump, right? So Giuliani says, well, China's our enemy. China's our enemy. They did the COVID. Again, not true. Lab leak, not true, right? And that Trump had the power to start a war if he wanted to. And so if wartime, people like Milley, who tried to prevent a war with China based on a conspiracy theory, well, those are the ones doing the treason. Did they forget about January 6th, by the way? The whole insurrection thing? Yeah, of course. All right, so now understand that they are politicizing this, as they do with everything, at the direct order of Donald Trump. So Trump calls up his friends and tells them to go on TV. They call Milley a traitor, treason, in order to do this. Was again legal to do or a good thing to do. It was a good thing to do, yes, to go and stop a madman, of course. Now, again, did it break protocol? Yes, and there could be some repercussions for that. So now I think you can kind of draw a line here with, or a parallel between Snowden leaking documents about our surveillance program in the United States, as well as Chelsea Manning exposing war crimes. Both of those things were going to go into protocol, but were ultimately the right thing to do. And so with General Milley, he, yes, broke protocol and went outside the chain of command, but ultimately tried to do the right thing because that may or may not have prevented a war. And so for me, preventing a war is a net positive, but apparently for Rudy Giuliani, it's not a positive. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.